What is going on, Florida State family? Seminole Nation in the 863 tribe. It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the goddamn truth, and you are on episode 106 of the Hangover. The season started, so there's time. So now we get a hangover during the week. So I'm doing it a little earlier than I'm used to do in the past, just due to the time. Heads up, you probably won't be getting an instant reaction from me this Boston College game, simply because the game is on a Monday night, which is a Tuesday morning in Korea, and I'll be at work. I'll be able to watch the game, but you probably won't get an instant reaction. Depending on if the game is over around lunchtime, I may be able to hop in on my lunch break and give y'all a quick hour and 30 minutes. That's how long lunch is. If not, I'll definitely drop a video with later on in that night for you guys. Yeah, it'll be early in the morning for y'all when y'all see it. It'll be later in the day for me. I'll drop a video on that. So that's just a heads up on the Boston College game. But as always, man, thank y'all for coming in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Welcome to the most interactive show on YouTube for the Florida State football fan. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Y'all already know what to do, and y'all know how to do it. Today we got to look back on. Today we got to look back on the game. I'm gonna look back on. I didn't do a second rewatch. Didn't want to watch it again. But there were certain plays that I went back and watched. And obviously there's a bunch of clips floating all around social media. So there are things that I want to go back on in the Georgia Tech game that you don't really get an instant reaction because emotions are flying high in the instant reactions and all these things. So more of a calm review of Georgia Tech. And then we'll move on to Boston College, man, because ultimately that's what you got to do. You got to move on to Boston College and hope that you can contain the quarterback that went for over 3,000 yards of total offense and almost 30 total touchdowns. So before we do all of that, again, one more time, hit like button, subscribe, share the video, share the video. Let everybody know we are live. Quick roll call, and then we can waste no more time. Let's talk about what exactly happened. On Saturday. But real quick, before we get into that, Ice Cold Noel, good to see you. John Shields, Sport Mark, Steel Supreme, Ray Fitty, Peter Shields, LS Momo, Diggs 21 on Twitch. But that's a good point. I've been starting to stream on Twitch as a Twitter or X, whatever we want to call it, has decided that I can no longer live stream unless I pay a subscription, which I am not paying. I've started the stream on my Twitch. So if you could go over there and give my Twitch a follow, it is the same, 863_Seminole TV. So it's the same that it is on YouTube. Go over there and follow your boy's Twitch. And by the way, we live stream the Dynasty mode and all of that stuff on the Twitch. So go over there and help the boys Twitch out. Jamal M, Antoine Stone, Lewis, Ronald, Curse You, whatever that says. Lance Lackey, Vontae B, Colin Hart, Dustin Hart, and William McMillan. All in the building. Again, hit the like button. All right, let's get into it. So one of the things I said in the instant reaction was, on offense, I was blaming the coaching, and on defense, I was blaming the players. Well, going back, um, there was a lot more D. Thompson in the building. There, going back and watching what I watched, there was a lot more blame to be put on the coaches on defense than I originally gave it. There was just some bad alignments. There was just some stuff that let me see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can find this clip. And again, this is just one thing, right? So this is just one thing. Here it is. Let me see if I bring this up on the. Let me mute it. Don't want to get copywritten. Let me see if I can bring this up on here because it's important to point this out, I think. Share screen. Here we go. Oh, we're going to share this. Okay, so I want y'all to watch this. Oh, and the important part is going to be the overhead view. Is this the same clip? Maybe this isn't the clip. Okay, this isn't. This is the play, but this isn't necessarily the clip. That I want to show. So there's an overhead shot of this clip. I'll just let it run. But what you're not seeing, let me see if I can pause it. Maybe you guys can see a little bit. Let me see if you guys can see this a little bit. And why I say the alignment on the defensive line here is egregious. Now, when I did my depth chart preseason, I strictly called Darrell Jackson a nose guard because that's what he is. I want you to, if you can't see anything else in this clip, I want you to look at the spacing between 5 and 6. On the goal line, look at the spacing between 5 and 6. 6 is completely out of position. 6 should be lined up right over your center. This is what you would call, this was an offense. And if we reverse the roles here, and this is FSU's offense on the 2-yard line, 1st and goal. And I don't know, remember the LSU game where they pitch it to Trayshawn Ward? And what did we say? We said, well, you got cute. This is what you would call getting cute on offense. This is getting cute on defense. I don't know what the alignment is. This is where smart people outthink themselves. Football is not a hard game. I preach that all the time. It's a very simple game. But when you outthink yourself, you make things hard. You have a 6'6", 320-pound individual that should be lined up right over that center. Center shouldn't be able to handle him. That's what a nose guard is. That's what his body type is. That's what he should be used for. And yet we have there's a 2-yard gap between him and Farmer. So of course the ball went right up the middle. Then you continue to watch the play, and Lundy, maybe he reads it wrong and has to come back. But guess what? The hole shouldn't even be there to begin with. Darrell Jackson should be closing. The problem with this play is Darrell Jackson should be closing that hole from the jump. So the runner is forced to go where Lundy is anticipating him. Though I do think Lundy, the more I watch it, it looks like Lundy's actually following the motion guy and not actually reading or paying attention to where the ball is. He definitely is following the motion guy there. And either way, Jackson should have been there to stop the read. Now tell me if I'm crazy. This is just one thing that I noticed defensively. We did a bit, and I said it in the instant review. We were just completely outcoached in this game. We did a really bad job of coaching in this game. So again, that's just one thing that I kind of wanted to point out that I saw that I was like, oh wow, that's unfortunate. Let me take this off the screen now. Get out of here. There we go. Just our alignments seem to be off. And there's more. There's more than just that. But the defense wasn't obviously good, and there's blame to share right across the board. Offensively, we kind of spoke on what they did not do offensively. I do want to go over the grades. So some of the PFF grades, if you like or believe in PFF grades, we'll go over them real quick. PFF grades are kind of a whatever, kind of a whatever thing here. There's also this play here from number 22. Absolutely embarrassing play there. But I want to go over these grades real quick. So some of your higher, this is all defensive grades, 1 through 19. Earl Little and Devontae Brown. Whew. Earl Little, by the way, what happened? Absolutely graded terrible at a 27.4. Devontae Brown was at 18. Then Byron Turner, and this is where PFF grades, in my opinion, are so weird. Because if you actually go watch, I thought Byron Turner was the one defensive player or defensive lineman that actually, him and Daniel Lyons probably played with the most. Remember that aggression and stuff I was talking about on the instant review? Like, I thought Byron Turner had that. But he was the third worst player graded at a 43.8. Lundy obviously didn't grade well. Patrick didn't grade well. Omar Graham at a 53. Again, put whatever stock you want to put into the PFF. How Omar Graham is at where Earl Little is, I don't know. Then you got Daryl Jackson, Daniel Lyons, Joshua Farmer, AZ, Shaheem Brown, who, in my opinion, played the best on defense because he had to clean up a lot of the mistakes that the front was making. Marvin Jones at 8, Grady Kelly, Kevin Knowles at 6. So your top 5 guys that played according to PFF: Blake, Hussey, Riley, and Sione. And Sione graded the highest of everybody on the team on defense. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. No, there's no way, in my opinion, he should be starting over Hussey either. But so just a lot of things that happened on Saturday. And what of course, after the game, and you have time for your emotions to calm down, and you just go to thinking. You know what? Saturday reminded me of a specific game, and not in terms of level of competition or anything about that, but I feel like the way we approached that game, in my opinion, the way it looked on the outside, Saturday in a lot of ways reminded me of Jacksonville State, and how FSU went out there against Jacksonville State, and they thought they could just run 2 quarterback system, they just thought they could show up and win. And that's how that felt to me. It felt to me like FSU came out there on Saturday. You know what happened on Saturday? FSU suffered from what I like to call the bully syndrome. Does anybody know what the bully syndrome is? In the chat. Just curious. Anybody know what the bully system is? A bully syndrome is? Because I think that's what we suffered from on Saturday. I'm just curious if anybody knows where I'm going with this. Somebody said arrogance. Brandon says spot on analysis. So let me tell you what the bully syndrome is. And it's specifically this D line. They thought they were the baddest dudes in the block until they got punched in the mouth and realized, oh, there's somebody badder. And then to me, now I'm not saying that anybody quit. I don't want my words to get misconstrued that they quit. I'm not saying they quit, but when they got punched in the mouth, they didn't know how to respond. That's what I'm saying. They thought they 110%, those boys on the D-line believed all their own offseason hype. They believed they can say what they want. They can say that they don't listen to the outside noise. They can say all of that. They came in on Saturday like they thought that they were going to show up and Georgia Tech's O-line was going to start trembling. They believed Nick Saban's that's the best top 5 defensive line in the country, whatever Nick Saban said. They believed all of that. And then the game happened. And they caught a right hook to the chin, and they had no idea how to respond. And from that moment on, O-line had their way with the defensive front. And it didn't help, like we just saw in that clip. The defensive alignment, like none of that helped. Believe me, none of that helped. But what has to happen going forward is now you have to look in the mirror. And so what a lot of people are saying is, I think there is a level of truth to some of the stuff that I see people saying. Obviously, there's no way of knowing because we're not Daryl Jackson, we're not Joshua Farmer, we're not Patrick Payton. But it's pretty well documented, the offseason antics or escapades of those 3 individuals and how they did what they did and had to do to ultimately acquire a bigger bag for themselves. That's fair. You do what you got to do to get what you think you deserve. At the time, you could be an upset, but as of right now, not mad at it. But what happens is, are you still hungry? Like, when you start giving college players the amount of money that's now starting to be reported, where's the hunger? Like Marvin Hagler said, it's hard to get up when you're laying on silk sheets. Like it. Boxers go through this. It's why you see guys like the Aaron Donalds and the Luke Kinkleys and the Calvin Johnsons. They kind of retire earlier than they should because they've done what they've had to do. They've acquired the amount of money that they need to acquire. They're not putting their body through the pain anymore. Now, they're not on that level. My point is, these kids, are they even hungry to play the game? Because Saturday, it didn't look like anybody on that defense was hungry to play. I won't say anybody. It didn't look like the guys that we anticipated to be the guys that we're calling top draft picks didn't play like top draft picks. And if your little 6-figure NIL deals has you satisfied, you think an NFL's going to pay a 7-figure salary to you or an 8-figure salary to you? So there's a lot of soul searching, I think, that needs to happen between now and Monday. The season's not over. I don't want to come on here and pretend like, oh, we are doomed. Guys are still talented, but guys have to find the fire. And I thought last year would spark that fire. And I think at one point it did spark a fire. I think the problem is it seemed like about 2 weeks before the season, before week 0, there started to be a whole bunch of FSU hype, believe it or not, specifically for that D line. That D line, all of a sudden, this narrative of this D line being what it, just as good, if not better than last year, started being hyped up. And I think that dulled the flames in some of those guys. I think they started believing some of that. So they're going to have to figure out, specifically those guys we're talking about. Those guys at FSU's are dependent on becoming Farmer, Jackson, Pat, Marvin Jones. Those guys are going to have to look in the mirror and figure out what it is they want to prove. So that's what they're going to have to do, right? That's what they're going to have to do. So just a more reserved take from Saturday, specifically talking about the defensive side of the ball and what they need to do moving forward. I still stand on my list that I made, so I'm going to stand on that. I might not be as animated about it. I'm going to stand on that list. And then offensively, real quick, as we go back and look, again, I pretty much stand on most of the things that I said offensively. One of the biggest problems I have with the offense, again, you go back and you look at it. We called the game offensively. Mike called the game like Brock Glenn was already playing quarterback. So I don't understand, and I said this, at the end of last season, I was pretty adamant, like FSU doesn't need to go in and get a transfer portal quarterback. This was before Tate Rodemaker eventually transferred out. I was saying you ride with Tate, you got Brock as the backup, because at some point you got to show that you're actually developing your QBs. That was kind of my deal there. Then they went out and got DJ. So you go out and get DJ because in my mind, the idea is, well, we're looking to reload, not necessarily rebuild. We're going to go out there and get a veteran quarterback so the offense can kind of continue to still roll in a certain direction. And then in game one, you call the game like you called the Louisville game or like you called the Florida game. Doesn't make a lick of sense to me to bring in a DJU and handcuff him. Now, again, go back and watch. When DJU definitely missed throws in that game. But I still feel like he was not. If you're going to bring in that guy, if you're going to bring in a guy who's played college football for 5 years, let him play football. Because if that's not the case, the same thing we're saying about like Omar Graham, and like if Omar Graham's going to play like that, put Blake Nicholson on the field. Hell, put Cryer on the field. Hell, put DeMarco Ward on the field. Like, you feel what I'm saying? It's the same thing I'm going to say about the DJU thing. If you're going to, I understand you want to be a running team. But again, go back and watch the play calling. We were there's some laughably bad calls here. If you're going to handcuff DJU because you're scared of what he can't do, then it's no different than playing Luke Kromenhoek or Brock Glenn because you'll be scared of what they can't do. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you got to let the 5-year quarterback just do what he does. And he's never been a guy that turns the ball over a lot. So I can't believe that that's the worry. I don't believe that the worry is that he's going to throw 3 or 4 picks. I guess the worry is he'll get behind the chains. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. So going back and watching some of the offensive stuff, like excuse me, they gotta loosen the leash on DJ a bit. Again, I'm still not asking you to let him throw 40 times a game, but when you let him throw, let him push the ball past the sticks. Let him Let them throw in the middle of the field, especially against the Georgia Tech team, where the middle of the field was completely open the entire game, but we never attacked it. One of the most mind-blowing offensive games I've seen from Mike Norvell. I don't think Mike Norvell makes the same mistakes, so we'll see how. I mean, we talk as much as we talk about the players coming out and improving. I think Mike's going to feel some of that. I think Mike realizes, like, well, my hope is that Norvell looks back and goes, yeah, I kind of dropped the ball here on the entire offensive game plan. So moving forward, and I'll pose this question. I haven't really paid too much attention to the chat. I see the chat bumping, so I'll probably need to check out the chat here in a second. But as we transition here to the game's over, that's what we saw. What do we do? What are the changes that need to be made? So I'm going to ask the question in the chat is, what are some of y'all's changes? And please give when I say constructive, you're allowed to have your opinion. But if I hear fire Alex Atkins, like, then to me, that opinion is null and like you're not giving realistic criticisms, right? What are some things that need to change going into Boston College? And there's a whole lot of football left. One game is not going to define this team. Again, they got punched in the mouth and didn't respond in that fight. But you can learn from that fight and respond the rest of the way. So I don't want to sit here and pile on and say y'all know me. I'm not an extremist. I'm never too high or too down. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the season's over. I'm also not going to sit here and tell you that FSU is going to go on a 11-game win streak either. But realistically, the season's not over. The season's not over. It's not even close to over. And FSU is, I think, a 17-point favorite against Boston College. Now, I'm not even sure where that comes from after seeing that last game, but Vegas might know something. So, again, I'm going to pose the question in the chat, and then I'm going to scroll up here, and I'm going to read some chats. But I just want to see if y'all were making some changes, what would those changes be going forward? Just from football standpoint, because we can't change a person's want to, a desire, their aggression, the motor. I can't change that. What are some schematic changes or personnel changes you would make, or you think they should make going forward? Let me go scroll up here in the chat, and I'll start. I'll start here when I was asking about, you guys know what the bully syndrome is. Let's start with Jeff. My man Jeff, what's going on? He says, I agree with you 100%. They came in there overconfident, got outplayed and physical, the combination of bad play calling. Irv says, it did look like Jacksonville State for real. Just from the standpoint of they just came out there and it felt like they came out there and thought they were just going to do whatever they wanted. And Georgia Tech had other thoughts. The coaches showed arrogance. The players didn't back up the arrogance. Jeff says, I think they believe in their own clippings on how good they were. Because every media outlet told them how good they were, including Nick Saban. Linebackers looked timid and scared. They got punched in the mouth, couldn't throw any counters. I think sometimes you need to get slapped in the face to reality and get back on track. I expect them to play better in the next game. Okay. Do you think we need to roll with Brock Glenn or DJU? That is the assumption. So the assumption you're making, Ray Fitty, is that you feel like, and again, DJ wasn't perfect. But by you asking this question, My assumption is that you felt DJ was the problem offensively. If you feel that way, then sure. If you feel like DJU was terrible, then that's fine. I guess maybe you would think like, let's just go with Brock. The backup quarterback. We say this every year. Backup quarterback's always the most popular guy on the team, unless you're Jordan Travis, right? Unless you have a quote unquote superstar. But anytime a quarterback has a bad game, we start asking about the backup. Like, I'm not going to go that route after one game, in a game where, again, I don't think DJU is ultimately to blame for the offensive performance. That wasn't perfect, but you can't show me a quarterback that is perfect. I don't believe DJU was the ultimate culprit on the offense for me to start saying Brock Glenn needs to be the quarterback. Okay, let me catch up in the chat. They hyped Kyle Morlock as well. He was atrocious at blocking. He's also slow. He's definitely slow. We got to play Landon Thomas. Yeah, I think the thing with Landon Thomas is when you start talking about the blocking aspect of it, probably is the problem with Landon Thomas. But if Morlock's not going to be much better, I think there's going to be a couple positions where you go, is the drop off from 1 to 2 that extreme? And I agree with Justin in the sense of, not that, again, I'm not calling for DJ to be benched, but if you're going to play that manner of football with your fifth-year guy, I agree. You should have rolled with Brock Glenn and spent that NIL maybe on the defensive line. You can never have enough of those guys. But let's see. Let's see what some of you guys are saying that maybe we should change up. Peter Shields says they need to limit the rotations. Oh, Peter, I'm glad you made this comment because I forgot to mention this. But I'm going to read your comment and then I'm going to cook on this one. Great comment from Peter. He says they need to limit the rotations on the whole line and put in backers that are actually going to be aggressive. That first part, not just on the O-line. They need to limit rotations on this team, period. But specifically the O-line, it's okay to get your 5 guys, whoever those 5 best are, and let them freaking play foot. I don't like 63 as a player, obviously. Don't know him as a young man. But damn it, if he's the best one of the best 5, let him play. Because rolling in Robert Scott on the next series for no reason whatsoever, and now he's getting blown up and can't block, what does that do? O-line, I talk about it constantly. I feel like at some point somebody on that staff has to. I know, believe it or not, I know they listen to me because they've clipped my voice in their videos and their little promo videos. My voice has been clipped in their videos, so it ain't somebody over there. Listen, they can pretend like nobody knows who 8637 TV is. My voice has been clipped in multiple videos of theirs. Now, with that being said, if 63 is the guy, let him be the guy. Cohesion. Offensive line, one of the best things the O-line can do is being able to say things without having to say things because you just know how the guy next to you plays. A tap on the knee might tell a guy, this is what – we don't have that because we're rotating bodies constantly on the offensive line. In the past, it made sense. We weren't – but damn it, man, we're year 5 into this O-line rebuild, and I think we got some guys. But if we're gonna sub them out every other drive, I don't understand. I don't understand how we can ask the O-line to be whatever we want it to be when we continue to rotate a bunch of bodies, and that's just the O-line. We rotate the linebacker, like we rotate guys way too much. You need to put your best 11 on the field. Unless a dude's tired, other than running back, stop rotating players. Our player personnel decisions have to be, we have to figure out how to shrink that. We got to shrink that, man. We do way too much rotating on almost all the positions. Give me the best 11 and let them play football. Thank you for that comment, Peter, because I forgot to bring that up. Need to utilize damn speed we got on offense. Defense needs to sack up, plain and simple. Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the speed on offense, Jalen Lucas came out the game gangbusters, and then we just didn't design another play for him. Again, personnel usage. Head scratching. I don't know what happened. You would think if a guy like Lucas started off that hot, you feed the beast, and instead we said, nah, you're good. We gave you your touches. We promised you. Go sit on the bench now. That's what it looked like to me. Brewmaster says, I like to see more of the wide receivers and less two tight end sets. Tight ends just don't seem to block or fast enough to warrant multiple being on the field. Yeah, Norvell was having another brain cramp. He good for them at times. There will be limited possessions, so it's time to shorten up the rotations. Nicholson and Riley would be your starting backers. I hear that. Everybody's talking about their rotation stuff. See, I'm behind in the chat, but I had to cook on the rotations because that's exactly the big issue. Offense can improve. Not sure what we saw on defense. Thorne and Hussey need to get more reps. You can't have Omar Graham on the field at any point moving forward. I would argue you can't have him or 22 on the field moving at any point moving forward. Omar Graham played the second most snaps out of any backer and recorded 0. Say it again, Tyler. 0. More Douglas and Lucas. Stop rotating. Keep the best on the field. Definitely play calling. Personnel usage. That loss is on the O-line, Norvell, and the D-line. Need to cut the rotation some at running back. And Fuller might need to get more aggressive on defense as well. Norvell needs to let DJ loosen up his arm. Landon's been banged. Let me catch up. I'm a little bit behind, so I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to catch up a little bit. Jeff with the $20. I didn't even see that, Jeff. Appreciate you with the $20. He says, one thing I would change, I would put Nicholson and see what he can do. And I will put that kid from West Virginia in there too and see what they can do. What kid from West Virginia are we talking about? Who's Jeff talking about? West Virginia kid. I'm trying to think. West Virginia. Oh, we're talking about West Virginia. You're talking about on the D-line? You're talking about Durajay or Durajau? I think that's who you're talking about. We definitely need to see Nicholson in the game more. Not even going to 100% right on that. I mean, in my opinion, especially out of the young guys, you go watch, Nicholson is the only linebacker that actually looked and played like a damn linebacker. Because I don't know what Omar Graham was. He looked like a ballerina. But shout out to Jeff, as always, coming in, showing the love like he always does. Appreciate you, Jeff. All right, catching up. Okay, I caught up in the chat. So yeah, man, hit the like button. So that's just some of the things that some of y'all think we should change up. But so let's move forward because that game is what it is, and everything that needs to be changed, it ain't gonna be changed in that game. So now you go ahead and you look at Boston College. Now this is a Boston College team that they weren't great last year, but they gave us fits last year. Crazy thing about that game last year, however, is people forget at one time Florida State is up by like, wasn't it like 31-3? Like, we were up big at one point in this game. Like 31-10 or something like that. We're up in this game. And then we have some silly turnovers. I think Lawrence Toafili had a silly turnover. Castellanos he's kind of bound to throw you an interception or two. I think he definitely threw one last time. They ended up finishing. What did Boston College ended up finishing last year? They ended up finishing with 6 losses. So they were a 7-6 team because they ended up winning their bowl game actually against SMU. Speaking of SMU, who was right about SMU? If y'all didn't see that team barely beat Nevada, and again, I guess we don't have a lot of room to talk about barely beating because we barely lost. But SMU was getting a bunch of preseason hype as having this offense that was going to set the ACC on fire, and I feel as good as I felt preseason about the SMU game. They played a bunch of bad teams, Nevada being one of them. Now, granted, it's week 0. These teams are going to evolve and improve over the weeks. Don't get me wrong. But SMU, the jury's still out. Back to Boston College, though. So, yeah. A 7-6 team. FSU comes into this game like a 17-point favorite. But they got that quarterback, man, and he gave us a hell of a time last year. I mean, in last year's game, I think he ran for 100 yards and threw for 300 yards. I think the man had like 400 yards of offense on us. Let me check real quick. Yeah, he had exactly 400 yards. He threw for 305 passing yards and ran for 95. The man had him alone, 400 yards. The man accounted for 400 yards of offense on us. So we gotta tighten that up. I don't think Boston College game obviously doesn't look as maybe easy as we thought it did prior to Georgia Tech. There is a chance that Georgia Tech's a better football team than Boston College. I think, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Georgia Tech goes on to win the ACC, but in contrast, Georgia Tech finished the season off fairly strong for them, whereas Boston College dropped the last 3 out of 4 games, only winning the bowl game. They had lost 3 straight going into the bowl game. What's the game plan? Well, it's got to be a spy. My guess, it better not be number 9, but you're going to have to keep your eyes on the quarterback, obviously. You're going to have to my question would be, outside of the quarterback, what is Boston College's strengths? You kind of saw it last year. You didn't have a lot of guys that worried you. You just had the quarterback. You got Lewis Bond. I mean, he was last year's receiving leader. I don't know if he is he back? What was he? Yeah, so he's back. Another small receiver, another 5'11" guy. Interested to see how FSU's DBs play here. And then the second leading rusher, I'm not even Roboto. He was a senior, so he's gone. So I don't know who their running back is going to be. this year. I mean, even Castellanos, I forgot how small he was, man. I can see why FSU's kind of picked as like a 17-point favorite because honestly, this Boston College team doesn't have a lot of. But we were kind of saying the same thing about Georgia Tech. Though Georgia Tech had a receiving core that people were excited about. They had a quarterback like Castellanos. I feel like Georgia Tech definitely is a better team, but if that team doesn't come to play, which there's no way. If FSU was to start this season 0-2, I'm not sure where the conversation would go. But that would spark up some interesting conversations. Florida State was to start the season 0-2. It says set the edges. We shouldn't be favored for the rest of the season. I think that's a jump. Again, I understand how Georgia Tech looks, but now you're going to tell me that every team on the schedule is better than Florida State? I mean, we do know that not to be true. Blake, the only athletic backer to spy neck. I think maybe Cam Riley could too. They'll make Lundy the spy, and then that'd be terrible choice. But we need to let Lucas do the jet sweep and keep forcing that they kept forcing with Micah Pittman. Lucas should get off on that play. There's a lot of ways to get Lucas the ball. That's right. They got Trayshawn Ward. So they replaced their last. I forgot. Trayshawn Ward is the running back over there. Interesting combo. Shout out to Trayshawn Ward, one of my favorite guys. I understand why he wanted to move on. I wish we could have kept him. What do y'all think about that? Interesting. That's interesting. Combination of those two in the backfield could be interesting for Florida State. He says, guys, I'm a German college football fan, and I was in Dublin. The least of your problems is quarterback. He completed 2 4ths and longs to give you a chance to stay in the game. He's definitely not wrong about that. Again, for all the talk on DJ, he put you in a position to at least take the game to overtime. He led the drive to take you in overtime, and the defense pissed down their legs. So, got the Mississippi State logo, the German college football fan, Sven. By the way, Sven, I'm trying to get into Germany in my next stop, so help your boy out. I'm trying to go over there to Germany. Chris Robinson, what up, Polk? Orlando on the check-in. Shout out to my man, Chris. Chris, I got to make you a new edit because every time I play your edit, they copyright my video. So then I can't monetize it. I still get the super chats, but I can't monetize it. But I'm going to play it anyway. But I got to make you something different, or at least shorten it.
I get it. Yeah.
No one said anything about Norvell going anywhere. Here we go, jumping the gun. You want to know what the interesting convo would be? Because it seems like that question got you offended. I said an interesting convo will be ahead, and you started jumping the gun to people getting fired. But I will answer your question if you were to start 0-2. So at the end of last year, one of the things that I was very adamant about, and people like stroking the flame here, matter of fact, I think he was one of them, said, why would you make any changes after going 13-0? We went 12-0 or 13-0 in the regular season, and we want to make staff changes? That doesn't make any sense. What staff does? And I put my foot down, and I was like, you always want to improve where you see improvement needs to happen. And unfortunately, we stayed pat in a lot of positions that we should have improved on. People, it's crazy to me that people in a lot of ways are actually shocked by the linebacker play. I've only been preaching that the linebacker rankings matter. I mean, I can literally pull up here what the linebackers look like. Like I can pull that up for you. Outside of Blake Nicholson, it ain't good at all. So to be shocked that Omar Graham kind of is not a good player, well, where was he ranked coming out of high school? Everybody told me development mattered. I don't care about recruiting rankings, is what I was told. I want hardworking, blue-collar players, and I'll develop them. Here's the problem. I can't turn a guppy into a killer whale. He has to be born a killer whale. Then we can make him one of the best killer whales of all time. But he still's got to be born a killer whale. Can't turn a pony into a thoroughbred. Like, you can talk about development all you want. You have to be that to get developed to it. You can't turn chicken egg, don't become a falcon. If you understand what I'm trying to get at. So to answer the question more directly, it's time to make staff changes. Absolutely, it's time to make staff changes. No, Mike's not going nowhere. I've never called for Mike's job. I don't know why that comment came about. Mike's not going anywhere. I've been on the record. I'm not calling for Adam Fuller's job. You don't have two of the better defenses in the last 2 years and all of a sudden get fired. But there are key staff positions that absolutely need to be addressed. Linebacker is one of them. I've been calling it for years. Oh, and by the way, if you want to rehash the conversation about Odell, check the recruiting. One of our top D tackles, he's already being crystal balled to Texas. Take from that what you will. I'm just giving you the news. I ain't the one doing it. So all the Odell hype that came back, well, we're about to lose one of the 2 4-stars we got. That's Myron Charles, by the way, being crystal balled to Texas. So, yeah, there's definitely changes that need to be made, but we want to hold – I don't know what it is with the loyalty of Florida State and fans. We want to hold on to everything. Nah. Anyway, let's continue. JP can go too. I mean, again, another conversation to have. Point being is 0-2 definitely sparks a conversation. So anyway, Boston College. Yeah, again, I think the key is definitely the key in on the quarterback. They do have Trayshawn Ward. That's a big deal. I'm not sure what their receiving room looks like. So receivers may not be a strength. My assumption is the receivers probably aren't a huge strength for this team. I'm kind of just glancing over the roster. They got a 6'5" guy in Jared Bradley who could be a matchup. They got a 6'5" freshman, but I don't expect him to contribute much. I think Lewis Bond is the key guy there. Okay, of course, Trayshawn Ward. That running back from last year actually did come back. So they have 2 running backs. They look like they're going to try to line up and be a predominantly run-heavy team. Boston College always has a big O-line. It doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be a good O-line. So BC's O-line wasn't great, hasn't been great for the past couple years. They got some big boys on there as I look on the roster. A bunch of guys over. I mean, they got a guy that's 6'8", 6'7", 6'7", 6'7", 6'6". They got two guys. They got a guy that's 6'8", 362 pounds, 6'7", 325, 6'7", 332. Big. They got a big O-line. Don't know if it's a good O-line, but it's a big one. Let's see how the defense responds against that caliber of O-line, or at least a guy's that big. We'll see if they can actually get some penetration. But again, I think you got to contain, obviously, the running quarterback because it's all going to start and stop with him. If he's able to break contain and make plays with his legs, that's going to spark up the rest of the offense, and you know how that tends to play out. That has to be the game plan going in. At the end, it has to be the game plan. So how do you combat that? Is it Blake Nicholson? Is it Cam Riley? Combination? Maybe you throw a safety as a spy. Maybe Shaheem Brown can spy. What do you guys think? Is it should they use like a Shaheem? I don't want to see 22 on the field, so I'm going to say Conrad Hussey. I have a feeling we'll probably see 22 on the field. I've been very interested what the depth chart looks like. I'll be very interested. If Odell loses these two D tackles, Big Dog can go to the camp. Only if he loses the two D tackles. Shout out to you, no sir, not me. But it's only if he loses the. Odell should have been gone. But I don't even say it anymore because I get so much fire when I say it. And then he'll sign a KJ Sampson and everybody say, you still want Odell gone? Y'all only want to keep him around because by the off chance that he gets a guy or two. We need more than a guy or two. We signed Jamori Flagg and Denaz White last year at defensive tackle. I hope both of those guys turn out to be very good players. Go check the rankings. Recruiting does matter. Recruiting matters. Odell should have been gone years ago. But every time I say that, people look at me and go, I'm crazy. You're a hater. Odell's a no. Yeah, Odell is a no. He'll always be a no. He'll be a no legend. And guess what? Every legend, every dog has their day. Anyway. Yeah, what do you think? What should we? Who should we use to kind of spy this guy? I'm sure they're going to be running a lot of read option with him and Trayshawn Ward. How do we attack the quarterback here? Or better, how do we keep the quarterback from attacking us the way he was able to go for 400 yards on us last year? Is it even possible to do that? Y'all let that Jimbo stuff go. If Texas A&M didn't show you what Jimbo is these days, I don't know why you would. I understand he's Jimbo Fisher, and this ain't Jimbo from a decade ago. Like let's leave that in the past too. Hakeem has had an hamstring. I don't know if he'll come back, but we sure could use him. We could just throw the ball. Don't get me wrong. I want Hakeem back. I think DJ could use a bigger body to target. DJ might feel more comfortable throwing to a guy with wider catch radius. But damn, I want to see him throw the ball. Like let's throw the ball and then we'll go with like what receivers need to be kind of replaced on the depth chart. Because as of right now, I can't. Odell hasn't signed a. Bro, Odell hasn't. What's the last time? Hopefully, KJ Sampson lives up to the billing. There's a lot of hype and hope around him. But who's the last Niall Lawrence that Odell signed? Who's the last DeMarcus Christmas that Odell signed? Who's the last Derek Nandi that Odell signed? Forget Jernigan. y'all about to spark me on this Odell stuff, but you're right. He hasn't signed that Jernigan in a while. You would put Nicholson to spy, the quarterback at Boston College. Not Riley. He's too soft. Maybe Nicholson. He's too soft to spy? Okay. Nicholson as a spy or bring Hussey down. Okay. Man, I'm just hoping and praying that QB don't Lamar Jackson our ass. I don't think he's going to be that crucial. I don't think it's that bad. The surrounding pieces around him aren't as good as what Lamar Jackson had. I don't expect that, but I hear you. I mean, again, he went for 400 on his last year. So by all intents and purposes, hell, Lamar Jackson does last year. He just didn't get the win. Well, my assumption is you don't play Nicholson and DJ at the same time, though I understand why you would. After what I watched Saturday, Nicholson and Cam Riley would be my two starting linebackers. Nicholson's the most versatile guy. He can play the back end, he can cover, run side to side, and we saw him in run support. So I would flat out start Nicholson and Cam Riley. Lundy again would be used in packages. Lundy would be used in certain situations like last year. If I need a guy to blitz, if I need a guy on an obvious run play, that's where I'm going with DJ Lundy. But the whole starting DJ Lundy thing should have never been the case. Again, I've only been saying who Lundy is for the last 4 years too. We keep thinking Lundy's going to transform into Ray Lewis, and it's just not going to happen. I know he's wearing number 10, but he's not Derrick Brooks, and he's never going to be Derrick Brooks. Nicholson and Riley should be the two. And this way, either one, depending on who lines up where on the field, either one can play coverage. Nicholson seems to be just as quick trigger in the run game from the little bit that we saw him on Saturday. I believe Nicholson can play the run and the pass. I think Riley is probably a better coverage backer, but he is a 6'4", 6'5" frame who can get in there and do some things on the run as well. Those would be my two guys. This looked like this may be our worst recruiting class in the Nova era, especially if we lose both D tackles. Bro, we need to wrap up and make tackles. Stop it. I shouldn't be this pissed off on a Monday night. Psych, keep up the old. No, I'm done with the Odell stuff. I'm not gonna keep doing the Odell stuff. Yeah, we're good. We're good. He says, yeah, I see the type of Noel fan you are. You give him another chance type. DG, you can't throw if you didn't see that Saturday, then I don't know what you was watching. But put Brock Glenn in. I'm assuming you're saying put Brock Glenn in and develop him. I'm the type to give him another chance. Shout out to No Boy Rex. Not even going to get upset with that comment. Thanks for stopping by. I really wanted to see Cryer. What do y'all want to see Cryer do? Because Cryer is going to play in a very similar role to Lundy, is my assumption. I don't think Cryer got a snap, which is, again, that's another interesting development if you take it there. Cryer, who again got a lot of offseason hype, didn't get any burn. Again, that depth chart, man. I can't wait to see that depth chart because I don't know how or what Mike Norvell uses to determine playing time. But there's no way you watch the tape and Adam Fuller and Randy Shannon sitting in an office with Mike Norvell and they go, we got to keep playing number 9 at linebacker. Like, there's no way you watch that and go, yeah, we're going to keep Omar Graham out there. There's no way. The depth chart is going to be very interesting to me. What's up, Champ 99? What we need to do is this game is show that we are a physical football team on both sides of the ball. I mean, we miss so many tackles. Can you get in the backfield more? I just want to see him and see how good he is. Cryer probably is no worse than number 9. I'm trying to get guys that complement each other. I believe Cryer is. Me personally, I don't think Cryer's too much of a different player than DJ Lundy. Now, granted, I haven't seen Cryer be asked to cover the sideline, and some coverage stuff. I don't anticipate him to be too much more athletic than Lundy, if I'm being honest. It doesn't mean Cryer can't complement. Like, again, Blake and Cam would be my 2 guys. But maybe you can get Cryer and Nicholson on the field together. I would always match Cryer with, a coverage guy similar to Lundy. Yeah. I don't have a bunch of expectations for Cryer. I never really did. They hyped him up in the offseason. Only, again, offseason is always so whatever. Because every offseason there's always players that get a bunch. Elijah Moore, LaWayne McCoy, they got a bunch of offseason hype. Dude, they didn't get a chance to play. Now, granted, if they got in the game, Mike wouldn't have threw him the ball because Mike decided to not throw the ball the entire game. But the point is, we hype up kids in the offseason only to not play them. So I'll be interested to see the depth chart. Y'all about to Omar. I hope Omar Graham don't be on social media. I really hope that man's not on social media because y'all gonna have this man depressed. It was so bad on Saturday. I was waiting for DeMarcus Walker to come give his crying Tebow speech. Personally, I'm going to tell Randy Shannon to stay in Dublin. I would have fired his ass that day. We were running a 4-3 at times, right? I would have to go back and watch, Colin, to be quite honest with you. Did we have 3 linebackers on the field at times? I honestly don't. I'd have to go back and watch. I can't answer that question to be accurate. If they play vanilla offense like they did against Georgia Tech, you might as well play Brock Glenn. Again, I said, if you're going to call the game like you called against Georgia Tech, I don't disagree with the whole you might as well play Brock thing. If you're going to be super conservative on offense and that's what we're going to do, then sure. I just don't believe DJ is the reason you lost the game. When is Atkins back? I think Atkins is back. Is it 2 more weeks? Okay, so I'm wrong. So, no, I guess we don't have Atkins for 2 weeks, 2 more weeks. As bad as the defense was, this was 100% on Mike. It was 100% on coaching, period, KCS. Not just, Mike Norvell's the head coach. So I always give him the blame because that's just how leadership works. The same way he gets the credit when FSU goes 13-0 in the regular season, Mike gets all that credit. With that being said, it was a failure across the entire staff. Lions definitely should play some more. Definitely should get some more play time in this game. He probably should be Lions should probably be your first defensive tackle off the bench. I would think so anyway. Agreed, all coaching. So, yeah. I think we went 1 hour and 30. So that was a pretty decent show. I just wanted to talk a little bit about both sides, right? I want to talk about Boston College and what what we should do going forward. And I'll ultimately say like what I think we should do going forward in that game. Obviously, got to find a way to contain the quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of dynamic Trayshawn Ward adds to that backfield. As we know, he's a high vision running back, but he's not a burner. He's not a speedster. He's not a guy that's gonna, his vision is his strength. His shiftiness is his strength, but not necessarily his speed. I think obviously defense is going to be a huge magnifying glass on it because the way it was manhandled against, which I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, and maybe Georgia Tech's O-line is just that dominant, and so it allows them to play a certain brand of football that's going to work for them. That offense wasn't, in my opinion, Georgia Tech's offense wasn't some world-beating offense. We just played we played terrible. They dominated the trenches. Lundy and them guys got their ankles broken out there. Like, it happened. But I didn't see a lot of explosive plays. I don't think Haynes King is a great thrower. So, kind of beat ourselves there. But we'll wait and see what the Georgia Tech offense ultimately looks like. Offensively, man, is where we got to – offensively is going to be the place where we have to answer. Because even saying all that, in 2024, FSU only gave up – I mean, if you don't – through 4 quarters, FSU only gave up 21 points. Now, granted, I know the last field goal, so I'm kind of not counting that. Because if you did what you were supposed to do on offense, the last field goal doesn't matter or even get kicked. So while I'm not trying to make an excuse for the defense, again, it absolutely 100% needs to play better. You still only gave up 21 points that matter. Like, 24 points. We'll just say 24, but you get what I'm trying to say. You only gave up 24 points, but you can only score 21. So the offense is going to have to come. Mike Norvell, whatever you called or whatever game plan that was for Georgia Tech, I hope you throw it in the – ball it up, spit on it, throw it in the trash, go grab some gasoline, pour gasoline in the trash, and set that motherfucker on fire and never call that game plan again. Whatever that game plan was, Mike Norvell, send it to the abyss and never look for it again. That's what I think needs to happen. Take your shots early down the field. Make the defense be cognizant that you can go deep, or at least will attempt to go deep if they're going to put 8 in the box. Stuff we did not do at all on Saturday. So those are kind of my keys for Boston College. Take your shots early. Keep the defense on its heels early. You should be able to run the ball if the defense is on its heels. When the defense starts to creep up, that's when you take a shot. You're gonna complete some, you're gonna miss some, but at least you're keeping the defense honest. You have to keep them honest. Utilize the middle of the field. If you start doing these things, and the more I watch DJ, DJ just can't make the passes. He's just not accurate enough. He's just missing wide open guys. He's just not seeing the field. Then I'll start calling for Brock Glenn's job. But based off last week, I'll start calling for DJ's job and being replaced by Brock Glenn. Based off of last week, I can't call for DJ's job when you let him do none of those things. And when the game mattered the most, you did do those things. He threw the ball in the middle of the field. He completed 2 4th and longs, like somebody said earlier. Like I said, you let him throw the ball. He threw the ball, and wide receivers caught the ball. 2 4th down conversions on that drive by your quarterback that everybody's hating on. Y'all get where I'm going at. So those are kind of my keys for Boston College. Like, that's how I would attack it offensively. Defense, man up. Play like you got some heart. Joshua Farmer, Patrick Payton, let's earn the money you're making. I'm a big fan of Patrick Payton's and Farmer's for that matter, but I can't defend the way you played. Omar Graham, hey, man, sure, you're a good kid. Get your degree. I'm pretty sure there's a realtor business that, you can go sell some houses in Tallahassee, or I think you're from South Florida. You can go be a realtor, sell some houses in South Florida. Just get your degree, do your thing. Football's not that. Football's not that thing. Let's close up here with a couple comments, and then I'm going to get them up out of here because we went 1 hour and 30, so that's good timing for a hangover. I don't like to go too long on these hangovers. No, I agree with you, Polk. I don't think it was DJ's fault. And is this the way they were playing offense? We coming back Saturday. Your Sunday talk about this Miami U. Y'all want? Should I? If you want me to go, I might actually do something. It would be Sunday morning for me. I might talk some Miami, Florida, because it'd be fun just to talk crap about whichever team lost. I hope Miami loses only because they have a bigger fan base on the internet. So I'm able to reach out and smack most of them. I might. But that being said, again, I might. You're probably, again, not going to get depending on what time that game ends. That is going to be a Tuesday morning for me. So I will be working because that is a Monday night game, Labor Day game, Florida State, Boston College. There, again, I know for those that are just tuning in, there's a high chance that there won't be an instant reaction of the Boston College Florida State game. Instead, I'll have to do a video later on where I just cover what happened. If by chance that game is finished by lunchtime or finishing around lunchtime, you might get a quick one from me. So be on the lookout for that. There's a chance I go live one more time this week where we might talk some more Boston College stuff, or just, I don't know, maybe some more recruiting stuff happens. Who knows? And then, like some people are saying, Saturday. I don't know if I'm not that dedicated to do a live stream and hate watch. Again, I'll watch the game, but there's actually a lot of games Saturday that I'm interested in. One of the games I'm interested in that's not a lot of people I think are talking about it is the Colorado game. I'm interested to see how they look against what is a competitive, FCS school, Georgia, Clemson. So week 1 is now officially here, and should be some fun games to watch. May or may not go live that day. We'll see what happens. But as always, man, I appreciate y'all. Hit that like button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. It's your boy Polk over here on 863 Seminole TV. Y'all stay classy, Seminoles. This was episode 106 of The Hangover. Georgia Tech's in the rear view. I hope we got it all out of our system. There was a lot to talk about. Let's breathe in. Exhale. It was one game. Didn't look great. But this team is still talented. I want to believe they still have pride and some heart, and that they will self-correct themselves, and that the coaches will look in the mirror and say, okay, we made a piss poor game plan. We'll go from here. They've at least given us that over the last couple of years, so they're going to give us that. I think they give us that benefit of the doubt that they will improve. We will see going forward. And always is your boy Pope over here on 863 Seminole TV. Again, stay classy, Knowles.